Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're unpacking something that, well, it resonates with so many people. Getting genuinely fluent and confident in English. We've actually waded through this massive 80,000 word guide on learning English, and we've pulled out the real core stuff, so you don't have to read the whole thing. Our promise for this deep dive, we're going to show you that fluency is not really about talent. It's not something you're born with. It's much more about strategy, often counterintuitive strategies, actually. Less raw ability, more smart practice. That's the real takeaway from this guide, I think.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Our mission here for you listeners, really clear. It doesn't matter what your level is right now. You could be just starting, maybe intermediate. We want to give you a step-by-step blueprint. And this isn't just theory, okay? It's designed to help you actually speak English naturally, confidently, without all that fear hanging over you. We're basically going to unlock the most powerful methods, point out the biggest mistakes people make so you can avoid them, and share some real practical speaking hacks, the kind that can genuinely transform your English in like weeks, not years.
Okay, great. Let's dive into the core of this guide then. One of the biggest aha moments it presents, it really challenges a very common belief about fluency. What's the first major myth that just completely busts for us, and why is that such a game changer,
Right. Well, the guide is super clear on this. You absolutely do not need to know every single English word to speak fluently. It might sound surprising, but think about it. The average native speaker, they only use about 20,000 to maybe 35,000 words day to day. The real key isn't the sheer number of words. It's how effectively you use the words you do know. And that's fundamental shift in perspective for a lot of learners.
Yeah, that immediately takes a lot of pressure off, doesn't it?
No.
So, okay, instead of trying to memorize the dictionary, the guy talks about something called high impact learning.
Uh-huh.
Can you expand on that a bit? What makes learning high impact beyond just, being efficient?
Absolutely. High impact learning, it's not just about speed or efficiency. It's more about identifying the leverage points in the language, finding that sort of small set of words and structures that unlock the vast majority of everyday communication. For instance, did you know that just the top 1,000 most common words, they account for something like 85% of daily conversation? That's not just a shortcut. It's really a strategic way to focus your energy for the biggest, fastest return.
Wow, 85% from 1,000 word. That's powerful for vocabulary. Now, the guide mentions three crucial pillars for fluency. Vocabulary, which we've touched on, grammar, and confidence. But its take on grammar is interesting. It says, not for perfection, but for clarity. Why is that distinction so important?
Oh, it's vital because so many learners get completely bogged down trying to achieve perfect grammar. And what happens? It leads to hesitation, fear of making mistakes, sometimes just silence. This guide really emphasizes that, look, basic grammar is key to being understood. That's the goal. Not to sound like a grammar textbook. It's just about getting your message across clearly, unambiguously. If people understand you, you're winning. And then there's confidence. Maybe the most important pillar, actually. So many learners get stuck because they study English endlessly, but they don't actually use it. I think of it like building a muscle, right? If you don't speak, you won't get fluent. Simple as that. Applying the knowledge is everything.
Right, okay. So with those foundational ideas set, what does this all mean for you, the listener? Practically speaking, this guide lays out a really fantastic 6-month roadmap. Let's kick things off with the first step on that journey.
Okay, so the roadmap begins with phase 1, survival English. This covers the first, say, 4 weeks, weeks 1 of 4. This is all about learning those absolute essential phrases. Hello, can you help me? Where is the, I don't understand, the basics. You'll also want to practice listening actively. Maybe try YouTube videos or podcasts, but slow them down a bit, like 0.75x speed. And here's a really crucial point the guide makes. Speak from day one, seriously. Even if it's just talking to yourself, that consistent repetition, it literally builds the neural pathways you need.
Speaking from day one,
Yeah.
even to yourself, that feels a bit counterintuitive for overcoming fear, but I totally see how it builds the habit. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so after mastering those survival essentials, what's next?
Right. So building on that foundation, you move into phase 2. That covers months 2 and 3. We call this building conversations. Here, you'll expand your vocabulary, aiming for maybe 300 to 500 keywords. Focus on words related to everyday topics, food, travel, work, hobbies, that kind of thing. This is also where you should definitely start incorporating shadowing. Have you heard of this?
Shadowing. Remind me again.
Yeah, it's where you basically repeat what native speakers say, like right after they say it. You mimic them. It's incredibly effective for improving your pronunciation, your rhythm, the intonation of English.
Yeah.
And if you feel ready, language exchange apps like Tandem or HelloTalk, they're fantastic for getting some real-world practice with actual people.
Shadowing and language apps.
Okay.
Okay, moving into months 4 to 6. The guide points towards what many people think of as the ultimate goal, thinking in English. That sounds like a huge leap for someone who's still translating everything in their head. What does the guide suggest is the practical way to make that shift?
Yeah, it is a leap, but it's achievable. This is where you actively, consciously try to stop translating word for word from your native language. It's challenging at first, no doubt, but it's absolutely crucial for that natural, flowing fluency. To help with this, try watching movies or TV shows without subtitles. Even if you only catch bits and pieces at first, that's okay. You can also keep a daily speaking journal. Just, record yourself speaking for a few minutes each day. It's actually amazing how much you can improve just by listening back to your own voice, noticing patterns, maybe catching mistakes, and self-correcting.
Those roadmap phases sound really solid, very practical. But beyond that structured journey, what about some of the clever tips, the real speaking hacks this guide offers to maybe speed things up a bit?
Ooh, yes, the hacks. Okay, one of my favorites I mention is the 3-sentence rule. Simple, but effective. Every single day, you commit to saying 3 new sentences out loud. Completely new. Could be about your day, an opinion you have, just random thoughts. Doesn't matter. This simple, consistent practice, it just instantly builds your speaking reflexes, makes forming sentences feel more automatic over time.
3 new sentences a day. I like that. Very manageable. Another one you mentioned, or the guide mentions, is the mimic method. Picking a celebrity, a YouTuber, anyone whose English you admire, and consciously copying their voice, their tone, their phrasing. That sounds incredibly effective for getting that natural rhythm and intonation down. But I wonder, some people might worry about sounding, fake, or losing their own voice if they're just copying someone else. Does the guide address that, or is it purely like a temporary training thing?
That's a really fair point, yeah. And the guide is clear. The mimic method isn't about losing you. It's not about becoming a clone. Think of it purely as a training tool, like going to the gym for your mouth. It's about training your mouth muscles, your tongue, your vocal cords to produce English sounds more naturally.
Yeah.
And it helps you internalize those native rhythms and phrasing patterns. Once you've built those skills, those muscles, you integrate them back into your own unique way of speaking. Honestly, it's surprising how quickly your delivery can improve just from this kind of focused practice.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like learning scales on a piano before you improvise.
Yeah.
So that's a powerful approach. But what about the mental game, that internal barrier? So many learners, myself included back in the day, get stuck with hesitation, that little voice inside that just stops you from speaking. How does the guide tackle that crucial barrier, getting people to actually use these skills they're learning?
Right, the hesitation monster. This leads us to another great technique, the 5-minute chaos drill. Sounds intense, right? You set a timer for 5 minutes and you just speak nonstop about anything, whatever pops into your head. The key is no pauses if you can help it, no self-corrections in the moment. Just let the words flow out, even if it's messy, even if it doesn't make perfect sense. This drill specifically targets and kind of kills that hesitation reflex. It forces you to think on your feet and prioritize you just communicating over getting every single word perfect. It is intense, yeah, but it can be incredibly liberating once you get used to it.
Wow, the chaos drill. That does sound intense. But I can absolutely see how it would force you past that mental block. It's like, throwing yourself in the deep end, isn't it? Which brings us nicely to a huge hurdle for so many people, overcoming that fear and just staying motivated. I vividly remember when I was learning English, I used to freeze up sometimes. It was awful. I actually, one time I completely messed up an order and said, I am very angry instead of hungry.
Oh.
Mortifying at the time. Everyone laughed, but you know what? Nobody really cared. It passed in a second. And now, honestly, it's just a funny story. Those mistakes, they really are just part of the journey.
That is a perfect example. Thanks for sharing that. It really shows why embracing mistakes is so crucial. They're not failures. They're just learning opportunities, growth points. And to connect this back to staying motivated, the guide really emphasizes a couple of things. One is finding a speaking buddy, someone to practice with, hold you accountable. That helps a lot. And maybe the most crucial thing, celebrating the small wins. Seriously. Did you manage to order coffee in English today? Boom, that's a win. Celebrate it. Did you stick to your 3-sentence rule all week? High five. That's a win. Every little step forward builds that confidence muscle and keeps you going.
Yeah, celebrating small wins. That's huge. Okay, so once you're feeling more comfortable, you're practicing consistently, you can really start to level up into what the guide calls more advanced fluency. This is where you start playing with nuance, maybe understanding humor better, getting slang, thinking about integrating idioms, like break a leg or hit the books, or even understanding current internet slang like ghost someone. The guide suggests things like watching stand-up comedy, following English meme pages, basically making it fun.
Exactly. It's all about weaving the language into your actual life, finding enjoyment in those cultural bits and pieces. The more you immerse yourself in the fun parts, the stuff you genuinely enjoy, the more natural and effortless it all becomes. Using English in all its richness, its quirks, that's where that true, authentic fluency really starts to live and breathe.
All right, well, that's quite a journey we've unpacked there. That's what we've managed to distill for you from 80,000 words of English fluency wisdom, all in one deep dive. If you found this helpful, just remember the main thing. Fluency isn't really about perfection. It's about progress. Keep speaking, keep practicing, keep learning.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe a final thought for you to consider and act on, considering that fluency really is built step by step through consistent effort and, as we said, celebrating that progress. What's maybe one specific small win you'll commit to achieving in your own English speaking journey this coming week? Think about it.